Hey, what's up, gang? Ken here from the Retro Toyscapades channel. So, hey, I started getting back into the Real Ghostbusters figures from Kenner Toys about a year ago. The series lasted for something like 5 years when I was growing up. It was one of the longest lasting toy lines of its era. Now, I was a big fan of the cartoon in the 1980s. It was probably one of the smartest written and wittiest animated shows aimed at kids during that time. But I never really got into the toys all that much. I was more into Mask and Transformers at the time. And I may be wrong, but I somehow don't remember seeing the Ghostbusters toys on shelves, at least in Malaysia. Hey, toy fans, if there's anyone here from Malaysia, drop me a comment if you collected these during the 1980s. And also let me know where you got them from. Now, I have to say that the action figure renditions of these guys are pretty spot on to their cartoon likenesses, especially for the time. And seeing as how these were based off the live action movie but had more cartoony and whimsical appearances, I have to say that these figures were possibly some of the first ever stylized toys made of a major motion picture. I mean, of course, they were toys based off movies back then, but they all went a very serious route. It's like you had the Rambo figure based off the movies, and he looked like he was about to snap someone's neck. He looked like how the movie made him out to be. Now, stylized figures are like second nature today. I mean, you could have something like a Batman figure with the head the size of an apple on a body the size of a 10-cent coin. But back then in the 80s, it was something entirely new. Now, Kenner Toys would take it a step further much later with even more stylized versions of action figures from the Police Academy and Beetlejuice movies. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be focusing on Team Genius Egon Spengler, since he's the only one that I have complete. Now, all the Ghostbusters came with a ghost accessory, and Egon's was the Gulper Ghost. As you can see, this thing is made out of translucent plastic, and it's kind of cute, except, it's supposed to be a ghostly entity, so I guess we should be afraid. You could have your Ghostbuster chasing this thing around trying to zap it, but the best way to have it is to have the ghost attach itself to the figure's head, covering it entirely, and then you're left with your figure thrashing about trying to break free, but he can't. There's no escape. Sorry, dude, you've just been possessed. Now, the figures alone are great, but the problems start with their one main accessory, and it's the one piece that no Ghostbuster can be caught dead without: his proton pack. So this whole thing, as you can see, is one entire connected piece, from the proton pack to the cable that connects to the neutrona blaster and to the particle beam effect that's shooting out of it. If any of these parts has an issue, it becomes difficult to replace them individually, and that's why complete, good condition proton pack accessories sell for so much on eBay these days. Now let's take a closer look at some of the problems that most of these units have faced. Now, there is a tab on the proton pack which connects to the figure's back. As you can see, this tab is already worn out and has the possibility of breaking off entirely. So, hey, how did it get worn out? Well, maybe somebody's cat started chewing on it, but more likely, repeatedly plugging this thing onto the figure's back and taking it off, and then plugging it back on, and then taking it off again. All this during play is going to cause some wear over time. And there's only one tab. There isn't an extra one below it. Now, if there were two tabs that plugged into the figure's back, that may have helped a little bit in terms of having a backup. But nope. If this thing breaks off, you're just going to have to tape the back to the figure itself. Okay, then we get to the neutrona blaster. So this thing is designed for the figure to slide his hand in order to hold it. But see, the thing is, instead of holding it upright, you've got the blaster resting to the side of the figure's arm. So the whole contraption can involve some wrestling about just to get everything lined up just right. And pushing it to an upright position doesn't exactly help either, as then you have the back of the particle beam getting in the way. Okay, now that everything's in place, it's time to play. But gently now. The reason why this video is titled as such, that the original Ghostbusters toys can bring more pain than play, is that the particle beam effects that you see here shooting out of the blaster, now these are some of the easiest things to break ever, possibly out of any other toy released in the 1980s. The reason for this is because the beam effects are made out of this thin but hard plastic material, which can probably crack in two if you just thought about it. But yes, this thing is flimsy. And to make matters worse, the part that extends out the back, the part that you hold on to in order to twist and turn the particle beams to make it look like the thing is in action and frying stuff. Now if that thing breaks, then you've got no way to manipulate anything. Now they could have used some form of bendable rubber material with a wire running inside it. That may have fixed the problem and it could have worked out so much better. Oh well, could have, would have, should have. Now I actually have a spare proton pack accessory here, and as you can see, the tab on the back of the pack which attaches to the figure, it's in pretty great shape, and that's wonderful. However, the back tip of the particle beam has broken off. Now that sucks, obviously. But you know what? Let's see if we can somehow nudge at the frayed remaining bits here with our fingers and thumbs and see if we can get this thing moving anyway. Oh yeah. Well, check that out. Check that out. And you just watch that beam flip and turn. Well, you know, it's not an ideal solution, but who are you gonna call? So that's the video, guys. Thanks for joining me, and if you enjoyed this, do leave me a like and a comment, and share with me your Ghostbusters toy experiences. Did you have any of these problems with your figures as well? I want to know. And do show your support by subscribing to the channel. We need to get enough good vibrations going so that we can stop the infestation of evil slime that's overrunning the city. Thank you, and I'll catch you guys again real soon.